All right, boys and girls, forget long legs. Strange Darling is the best serial killer horror thriller that you will see this year. As you know, we were both very excited about Long Legs. We were a little disappointed by the outcome because, well, it just wasn't as scary as the advertising made it out to be. However, JT Mollner's Strange Darling has a tension to it that is absolutely fantastic. I didn't know what to expect. I went in completely blind, and we think you should too. All we're going to tell you about this is that it is a serial killer hunt story. It begins with a woman running through a field looking absolutely distraught, and something or someone is after her. That's all you need to know. And then the movie kind of unfolds in this broken structure kind of way. It says that it is a story in 6 chapters. It begins with chapter 5 and then kind of jumps around until you get to the very end of the film, which I think is a part of its genius because I don't know how you feel about this, Bahe, but I think this is a movie that started with the good bits version. And there is no better way to get you invested in something than to show you the bit that everyone is kind of waiting for in a
Right.
serial killer thriller. It's the
Yeah.
hunt bit, it's the chase bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, that is so smart because it's got me invested in reverse. Because now I want to know how they got there. And it's just such a simple storytelling technique. But the way JT Mollner executes it had me at the edge of my seat throughout.
I said straight up. Like you said, when you're sitting down for a thriller, you're expecting the slow start, right? You're expecting the girl to meet the guy and the guy to flirt with the girl and get her places. And so there's that build up, right? And it's almost always a when there's a romance element within the story, the build up is almost always very slow until there's a sudden shift in turn and characters, right? Suddenly the guy becomes the murderer rampaging around. Whereas here, you start off with the victim having escaped an attack. It's not even in the middle of an attack. You've escaped the attack, right? And you're immediately going, hang on, what the fuck is going on? How did we get here? I also really like that nothing is as it seemed in the movie.
Throughout the whole fucking movie.
Throughout the whole fucking movie, nothing is quite playing out the way you assumed it would. And that left me it left my brain active because I'm trying to figure out the puzzle. I'm not just watching something happen to someone. The movie is very non-linear. It jumps back and forth, which is again also just very exciting for the brain noodles.
There are a whole bunch of things that make this movie stand out. First of all, it's shot using 35mm film. It is shot using classic Panavision cameras and lenses. It also marks the debut of Giovanni Ribisi as a cinematographer. You know Giovanni Ribisi from Friends, from My Name is Earl, from Sneaky Pete, from a whole bunch of stuff. But his work as a cinematographer in this is absolutely fantastic. There is a distinct look and style that really makes this work. And I'm not just talking about that 70s feel in inverted commas. I think it's more than that. It is the way he frames the action. There is a sequence in this movie, in one of the chapters, where both individuals are sitting in a truck and having a chat. But the way he frames that conversation, it is constantly dynamic and it is interesting and it is full of tension, and you almost don't know who is predator and who is prey in that situation. It is so cleverly done, and it's not just because of dialogue and performance, but also because of the way it's shot.
I also want to say, like, you use the word dynamic here, but at no point was Giovanni Ribisi as the cinematographer trying too much. The conversation you mentioned between the two characters in the car, the camera isn't like jumping around. There's no like one panning shot, like an impossible Children of Men style camera work. No. It's just the way the camera is positioned with the cast inside the frame that it gives you a real tense feeling. Like, they're parked, they're in front of some neon sign because they're bathed in blues and reds, and it just makes you feel a little more awkward and a little more tense. But it's just that the way he's framed that shot, I love that frame. I don't know what it is, but I love that frame.
The other thing I loved about the movie was how it subverted your expectations. Like you said, nothing is what it seems, and nothing is what you expect. But throughout the film, none of it feels like you are being cheated because everything is laid out for you. But because it's done in this non linear way, you keep questioning what is going on. The answers come eventually. And the way it plays out, though, even once you know what is going on, it's still done in a fascinating way that has you going, oh my God, don't be stupid. What are you doing? Come on,
Yeah,
come
yeah,
on. Yeah. So that effect is still there. And so the tension and the reaction that the director wants to incite from you as a member of the audience, right? That thriller horror element is so, so good. Like he does such a great job in getting it out of you. It's so very clever. So throughout this review, we've kind of classified this as a serial killer horror thriller, but there's a lot more going on. And I don't want to just label it as one thing. I think there are elements of a modern day toxic love story. I think there are very strong comedic elements. There are moments that are laugh out loud funny. I think there are moments that are completely and utterly heartbreaking. As I'm watching this, I feel for different characters at different times in different ways. And I think that manipulation is absolutely fantastic as well. It is an incredibly tight movie at an hour and a half. It is also made for a budget of between 4 to 10 million and looks absolutely gorgeous. The music choices are absolutely fantastic. There is this driving, thrumming sound whenever the killer approaches, and then the use of pop songs as well. I haven't been able to get Love Hurts out of my mind ever since I've watched this movie, and
right. Yeah,
I think that goes a long way to showing how much of an impact that every element of this film has had. And
yeah.
yeah, it's just one of those small indie productions that has done such a tremendous job in achieving what it set out to do. This is what I wanted Long Legs to be. Like, I
Yeah.
found this genuinely surprising and exciting.
You know what it is? Long Legs felt like it believed its own hype.
Yes.
The marketing work, the promo work for that one was top notch, grade A stuff. However, the film failed to live up to it.
Also, I think it relied a little too much on the Nicolas Cage of it all.
Yeah, and not actually to use Nicolas Cage,
Yes.
which felt really weird. But the one thing I want to say, I thought Willa Fitzgerald's performance in this was fan-fucking-tastic. Just the way she moves her character through places, I thought was fantastic. At no point was I disbelieving what I was seeing. I was completely on board with her performance, with her character's journey throughout this film, and that was fantastic.
We'll clear one thing up for you. At the beginning of the movie, it says that it's based on the true story of a serial killer. I don't believe it actually is. JT Mollner, the director, has come out and said there's an amalgamation of stuff that he's read, but a lot of times these movies like to use that claim to kind of enhance the horror thriller element of it all. And admittedly, I was suckered as well. After the movie finished, I kind of went down a rabbit hole on the internet looking up stuff to see who this person was, if this person was real, etc., etc. And turns out this serial killer wasn't real. But I don't think that matters. And I don't think it was actually necessary. Because I think the way that this story is framed is the genius. And I think the way that the story is told is what does all of the heavy lifting. It's a cool little element to have, but it actually means very little in your enjoyment of this show.
I will also say, I don't think Ed Bigley Jr. needed to be in this.
Probably not, but it was still fun.
Was he just bored?
Maybe Ed Begley Jr. and Barbara Hershey were kawan lah of the director and
Maybe,
just
yeah.
decided, hey, let's help a friend out. He's making a small budget thriller movie.
Yeah, you need a couple of actors. We'll show up for a day. It's fine.
You're right, they didn't have to be in this movie, but as hippie doomsday preppers living out on a farm, they're perfect. They're really, really good.
I will say that breakfast Ed Bigley Jr. made looked really weird.
Looked utterly disgusting.
I'm not for that at all.
Strange Darling is some of the most fun that I've had in the cinema, and I think it's worth watching. you should go check it out. It's not showing in Malaysian cinemas. I caught it when I was in Singapore, but I think you will still have a tremendous experience. It's available on VOD. You can buy the movie. Go check it out. Let us know what you think once you've seen it. You know how to reach out. All of our social media feeds are GogglerMY. You can also email us on podcast@goggler.my or send us a WhatsApp on the Goggler hotline, 012-524-5208. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Goggler Podcast.